How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, I just been sitting back, just in my how would I put it? I'm gonna speak on how I feel. This trial was very emotionally draining to me, and I could literally feel it in the universe. And this rotten piece of shit deserves what he get. We heard statements from some of our own that said that they felt, the attorney general literally felt, what's his name, Keith Ellison, felt sorry for him, knowing his background, knowing that he basically beat the dog shit out of one of our royals, 14-year-old child. And our own will sit up and say that they feel some kind of way about this murderer. And I'm tired of looking at him, so let me get over here. Let me blow this up a little bit. What I've been feeling, my royal family, because sometimes I said I had to step back and just kind of all take it in, is the constant pain and rage or negative energy that America likes to project in Black lives. We got more black men being literally slaughtered in the streets of America. And it's so many I have lost count. I even forget names and what states, is because it's always the same scenario. Unarmed black man. And why isn't it any black policemen overwhelmingly slaughtering white men in the streets of America? Unarmed white men. Well, I know how they will not, the enemy will not hold themselves accountable for anything, but they will say, well, unarmed white men cooperates with black policemen, armed policemen. You know, they always got an answer for everything. None of that suffice. So the trauma that I'm experiencing just that's why I wasn't all overjoyed with this, okay, yeah, he guilty. And thanks to Carissa McKnight, who is very good at sending us, for the last few years, damn good articles, that they even set back another week before they sentence him. And we know it's going to be some fuckery on that, knowing his record. Now, I have 3 videos to show y'all of the one of the jurors family came forth, a brother by the name of Brandon Mitchell. But before we get into that, I want to read this article in pertaining what the DOJ planned to do, which I side-eyed it. But anyway, I'm going to read it. The DOJ planned to arrest Derek Chauvin in court and charge him with civil rights violation if he was acquitted for murder. Ain't that ironic? So what does it say? The Justice Department officials had planned to arrest Derek Chauvin at the courthouse and charge him with civil rights violation if he was found not guilty of murder in the George Floyd killing, or if there was a mistrial. Okay. According to the reporter and the federal prosecutor, they spent months building a police brutality case against Chauvin and 3 other former Minneapolis police officers charged in the connection to Floyd's death. In an effort not to influence the outcome of the murder trial, the department held off on pushing forward with a grand jury indictment, but had a plan in place in case Chauvin was acquitted. Let's see here. The Minnesota U.S. Attorney Office would have charged Chauvin by criminal complaint so authorities could arrest him immediately, then seek a grand jury indictment afterward. I mean, what the fuck do y'all need a grand jury indictment? It ain't even necessary. See, you still give him a sense of power because there is a flicker, or they're hoping that somebody would say, in the grand jury, that y'all don't have a case here. So you don't need a grand jury. Y'all still full of total shit. But the plan was never realized, as a juror last week found Chauvin guilty. Okay, so he was guilty on our charges in Floyd's killing. Chauvin faces up to 40 years, which we know he's not going to get 40 years in prison on the most serious charges, second-degree murder, and his sentencing is scheduled for June, and they set it back a week again. Okay, federal prosecutors are still going forward with the case, but plan to do so by getting a grand jury indictment first. Here they go again with this grand jury bullshit. I don't understand what y'all on. Shit pisses me off. Shit is draining. So, see what else they have here. The department separately in opening a civil investigation into the practices of the Minneapolis Police Department Attorney General, Merrick Garland said last week. The Justice Department declined to comment when reached by insider. Blah, blah, blah. Minnesota office did not immediately respond to the insider comment. So anyway, according to the Star Tribune, the federal prosecutors plan to charge Chauvin in connection with, y'all did all of that old fake bullshit. What's the sentencing? Also they added here, in a court filing, prosecutor says Chauvin struck, which y'all know about, a black teen in the head with a flashlight, placed him in the prone position for 17 minutes. All right. And then our royal son, citing on the court documents that Chauvin ignored complaints that the teen can't breathe. All right. Enough is enough. Let's get into these videos. So our juror came forth, and we're going to hear what he have to say. So I have 3, because he went to various media outlets. It's more, but I said I'll just, do 3, because he's, he is saying some different things. That's why I did that. But I just didn't want to go on and on with it. So let's get into this first interview here.
To hear from one of the 12 jurors who convicted fired Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin of murdering George Floyd. Chauvin, as you know, now faces up to 40 years in prison at his sentencing, which has now been scheduled for June 25th. A diverse jury deliberated for about 10 hours after 3 weeks of often emotional testimony. The jurors' names were withheld during the whole process. 31-year-old Brandon Mitchell was known only as juror number 52, and he joins us now. Brandon, we're really glad to see you, because all of us wanted to know what happened. So I'd like you, if you could, please take us inside the room. I think we were surprised that you're 12 strangers, you didn't know each other, you go in the room. What's the process, and how were you able to reach a verdict so quickly? And good morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning to you. First, I want to send my condolences to the Floyd family. Yes. But when we walked into the deliberation room, the first thing we did is we voted on whether or not we wanted to have our mask on. So we made that kind of an icebreaker just to get going. We voted to not have our mask on. We took our mask off. Then we voted for a 4-person. And from there, we went straight into the manslaughter charges and took a preliminary vote before doing a final vote on those charges, and went forward from there.
Now, what was the preliminary vote?
The preliminary vote was 11 of us were already we were already on board for guilty for the manslaughter. One person was still unsure, and we just went over it as a team, as a group. Each person kind of went down the line on why they thought it was guilty. We did another vote maybe 40 minutes later after we went through everybody, and everybody was on the same page for the manslaughter. It happened really quickly.
And did you do that with each of the charges? Is that what you did? Took a vote on each of the charges?
Yeah, so each charge we did a preliminary vote to see where we were at. If there was anybody that was not on board yet or was unsure, then we would go around the room. Everybody kind of speak on what they think is necessary to speak on. We went over maybe a little bit of the evidence, and then we would come back with the final vote whenever we thought it was a suitable time.
What was the one person unsure about, Brandon?
I think it was like just the terminology. So within the instructions, some of the terminology can be a little tricky because it's legal jargon, and so sometimes some of the words can be interpreted differently amongst people. So it was just, they wanted to do their due diligence and just make sure that they were coming out with the right verdict that they believed in. So they were just hung up on a few words, and we kind of went through the definitions that were given to us and kind of broke it down from different perspectives to get everybody on the same page.
Was there any particular witness that moved you and moved the jury that you said, okay, we were deeply affected by fill in the blank?
Yeah, so I think as a whole jury, I think Dr. Chovin was the most influential witness out of everybody. For me personally, Donald Williams was another person. So Donald Williams and Dr. Chovin for me for sure.
Yeah, that was a
the fighter. Yeah, so him early on, I thought he set the tone for the rest of the trial. And then when Dr. Chovin came, with him speaking so scientifically, but also making it understandable for everyone, along with the exhibits that he came with, I thought he just broke it down in a manner that was easy for all the jurors to understand. And I didn't think there was any way for the defense to come back after that. I was like, to me, the case was done at that point almost.
Did you feel pressure because you knew the world was watching that, we have to reach a guilty verdict here?
Not at all. And I don't think any of us felt like that. I for sure did not. I for sure did not feel like that. The pressure more so came from just being in the room and being under stress. But it wasn't pressure to come to a guilty verdict.
What were you stressed about? What were you all stressed about?
We were just stressed about just the simple fact of, every day we had to come in and watch a black man die. That alone is stressful.
Yes.
Coming in each and every day and having to watch somebody die is stressful enough by itself. So anything outside of that was secondary, just because as a human, it's natural to feel some kind of way as you're watching somebody in agony.
Yeah, I can't imagine, Brandon, what it was like to be able to watch that tape day after day after day the way you all did.
Yeah, it definitely had its it had its impact on me. There was a few days where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make it in this next day, especially me as a black man and a larger black man. I'm about 6'4", 250 pounds, and some of the testimonies just like saying how size can be considered like, is it a risk or a threat? Whereas me, I'm a gentle giant.
Yeah.
But stuff like that affects me in a way that is weird. I don't know if it affects anybody else the same way.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. How did you all feel about Derek Chauvin, the fact that he did not take the stand? Would that have made a difference, do you think? We'll never know, but do you think it would have made a difference?
It possibly could have. We did talk about, the fact that he didn't. Somebody had brought it up, like they wished that he would have. They would have liked to have heard from him. But since it wasn't part of the case, it just is what it is. But yeah, anything brought in or not brought in, it could have possibly affected it either way. I can't say it would have changed the outcome, but it's a possibility for sure.
And do you worry about your safety? Now, this was such a controversial case. We now know your name. We now know what you look like. We now know that you said you're a large man. Do you worry about your safety?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm a person that kind of thrives in the positives. So I'm not too much concerned about that, nor do I dwell on
The what ifs.
on negativity like that. Yeah, the what ifs.
And he's going to be sentenced June 25th. What do you think is the proper sentence for him, for Derek Chauvin? He's facing up to 40 years.
Yeah, I couldn't say what the proper sentencing would be. You know, I think we came with the right verdict. Was guilty on all charges. And I'll let the judge do what he does.
All right, Brandon Mitchell, thank you very
All
much.
right.
We really wanted to hear from you today. It's been a
you
fascinating case
didn't-
that we've all been watching.
It's all of us is always, most of us are curious, what the jurors are thinking and feeling and everything. And it seemed based on this first interview here that they were pretty much, their mindset was pretty much set. And I am in agreement that the pulmonary doctor, the way that he explained everything down to the minute, to the point of death, he was clear. It wasn't a bunch of like trying to you could decipher the words, and you knew the definition of the words of the things that he spoke on. That the pulmonary doctor, for me, as far as expert witnesses, did set the tone of the case. And as far as their stress or his stress level, you're in there every day with a murderer who has great disdain, extremely racist towards black people. And can you imagine the stuff he did and got away with? The fear that he had put in other people's hearts out there in them streets running rogue. Okay, we're going to get into, let's see here. Right here. We're going to get into the second interview.
Thank you for your willingness to share with us what went on inside that jury room in the deliberations. Please tell us.
First, I want to start off by sending my condolences to the Floyd family. I haven't got a chance to do that publicly, so I want to do that first and foremost. But no, the deliberation room, it was pretty much, for the most part, it was straightforward. There were a few hiccups with, terminology and understanding exactly what the instructions were for each case. But like I said, for the most part, we got in, we got out. There wasn't too much banter back and forth.
Was there one juror, though, on one of the lesser charges that was a holdout for a while?
Yeah, so we probably deliberated for 4 hours, and of that 4 hours, it was I guess we were going over more so the terminology that was being used and making sure that we understood exactly what was being asked. I think the one juror that was kind of, I wouldn't say slowing us down, but was being delicate with the process more so. Was just kind of hung up on a few words within the instructions. Just wanted to make sure that they got it right.
And so how were you able, and that's how you were able to convince this particular juror? Clarification
Yeah,
on
so
the
we
wording?
so we just kind of went around the room. We literally broke down the sentences, broke down the words and what the meanings were. And just described it several different ways from different perspectives until we came to a common conclusion.
Brandon Mitchell, you know that there are some people who believe that the racial climate and the protests in the streets may have impacted the deliberations. Was that ever discussed, and was that an issue at all?
We weren't watching the news, so we don't know what was going on. We were really just locked in on the case. And then with so much stress coming from the case, those things are so secondary because you're literally, throughout the trial, you're watching somebody die on a daily basis. So that stress alone is enough to take your mind away from whatever's going on outside of the four walls of the courtroom. That wasn't even something that's in any of our minds. I don't think so.
What was the impact of that 9-minute, 29-second video, and was that the difference maker?
The video is it's a historic video, unfortunately. And then seeing the multiple angles of it, from the body cams, from the other cell phones. It was probably the most important piece of evidence.
Was there any testimony? Was there one piece of testimony for you that made a difference?
Yeah, so for me, I'll say two. For sure, Donald Williams, just how he spoke about everything, and Dr. Chovin. I think once Dr. Chovin got on the stand, and the way he spoke, and the details that he gave, and the way he gave the details, I thought that really solidified the prosecution's case.
Derek Chauvin not taking the stand, did that have an impact? Not hearing from him, the former officer?
Yeah, definitely it did. When we were in the deliberation room, a few people wondered, they wanted to actually hear from him. They were curious on, just what his thoughts might have been throughout. It probably was to his detriment that he didn't take the stand, because people were curious on what his thoughts were throughout the entire incident.
It was a very, I don't have to tell you, very diverse jury. Everybody around you, they ranged in ages from 20 to 60, 5 men, 7 women, 4 black, 6 white, 2 self-identify as multiracial. Your experience, you believe, has shown the importance of black men to show up for jury duty. Why do you believe that?
Yeah, so in order for to change to happen, we got to get into those type of avenues, get into those rooms. We got to show up for jury duty. We have to vote. Those are things that are important to the society as a whole. And if we want to be viewed differently in society and start to see different results, we have to start to do those things. We cannot avoid them. We can't put them on the back burner. We have to put them in the forefront. And jury duty is definitely one of those things, especially with the insane number of black men being incarcerated. So we definitely have to get on those panels and stuff like that.
You began by giving your condolences to the George Floyd family. You haven't had a chance to speak with them. What would you want to say to them?
His name is going to live on. His legacy is now cemented in history. It's now become so much bigger than him as an individual. He's now become almost, he's become a legacy. And it's a legacy that will forever be here, and it's forever it will hopefully create some change within society. And that is huge, and that is unfortunate. It's a positive lining within a negative result as his death. But that's just me as a positive person, just kind of looking towards the bright side. Like I said, at the end of the day, still lost a brother, a nephew, a cousin. It still was a man that lost his life. But his name will live on, and what his name means now is so much more than what they probably imagined. It's literally cemented in history.
Well, Brandon Mitchell, thank you very much for your time this morning, and thank you for fulfilling your civic duty. Wishing you all the best.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And Derek Chauvin will be sentenced on June 25th. He has 90 days to appeal his guilty verdict. Our thanks to Robin and Brandon Mitchell for that interview. And that does it for this ABC.
Well, my royal family, I know that Brandon may think things will change in the system. I am in agreement that any black person, let alone a black man, if you have an opportunity to participate in that process, being a juror, I wholeheartedly believe you should. But based on the history and the foundation of America, nothing will not change. Like I said, the insane part about all of this, to me, the conclusions that I have came up with, is that they want to go to these black neighborhoods, law enforcement, or the system itself, and set up these boards, make some self-righteous black folks feel like they doing something, and when they continue to do what they're going to continue to do, slaughter us, be so-called transparent, show us, that board, the footage. And I've said this before, they're literally coming to us and saying, what way is more successful to you and your people in killing you? So I know, killing you this way, that was horrific, what this pig did to George Floyd. But is it okay to kill you this way opposed to that way? And this is where we all have to watch, because they're trying to make this normal to us. Like, okay, we showing y'all this. We know this effed up, but would it be okay opposed to it be that? That's my interpretation. Nothing, you cannot train people out of their unquote nature. It is what it is. The beast is the beast. As we continue on, let's go on to this last interview with Don Lemon.
All right, we're back now. So let's talk about the families of victims of police violence on Capitol Hill today, pushing lawmakers to pass policing reforms. Congress facing pressure to act after a year that we saw historic protests for racial justice sparked by the killing of George Floyd in police custody. The now convicted ex-officer Derek Chauvin, set to be sentenced, by the way, on June 25th after being found guilty on all 3 counts in the death of George Floyd. So joining me now is Brandon Mitchell. He was one of the jurors in the Derek Chauvin trial and the first to speak out, and we're so happy to have you here. Thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate you joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, Don.
Can you please take us inside what it was like to be a juror in this case, to watch that video, hear all that evidence, know that this huge decision would be up to you with the whole country watching? How was that?
I mean, it was stressful being in there every day. The fact knowing that the whole country was watching wasn't too much pressure. I think that part was fine, but just being in there every day was just stressful, draining, mentally and emotionally.
You told CNN that there were times that you felt like that you couldn't keep serving as a juror. I found that fascinating, but you got through it by telling yourself, quote, if I'm not here, who will be here for us? Meaning us, the black man, right? What responsibility do you feel being a juror on this case that's important? Because didn't you say I think you called your mom and said, Mom, I don't know if I can make it today, or either you thought about your mother and what she would think about it, but why did you feel being a juror on this case was so important?
I just felt like as an African-American male, I empathize with George Floyd and his family. I see myself within them. And I felt like if I wasn't there to be a representative for the black community, as an African-American male, as a guy of a larger stature, who's going to be that person to represent us? I feel like representation matters. I feel like conversations could go either way if that person representing is not there. And yeah, I had a weekend where I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit, and I was seconds away from calling my mom and telling her that there's no way I can make it in to do this jury duty on Monday, because I was just that much emotionally broken from seeing somebody similar to me die over and over again, die on instant replay, as I've been saying.
Mm-hmm. I said to take us, what was it like? Was it contentious? Did you guys, was it tough for you to make a decision, or did you have all the evidence and did you basically say, look, we know what's going on here? Walk us through that.
Yeah, so I don't, once we got into the deliberation room, I don't think there's any contention or there's any, arguing or anything like that. I thought we all walked in somewhat on the same page. Once we understood all the terminology being used within the judge's instructions, we were pretty much all on the same page in terms of this is a murder. There wasn't much to discuss. We went over the evidence a little bit more. Everybody spoke their mind, and we were all for sure like this is what it is.
Was there a moment in the trial or that with any witness or with anyone where it just sort of sealed the deal right there?
Absolutely. So for me, and I think most of the jurors, I thought Dr. Chovin really captured our attention. I thought the way he spoke just was so capturing, and it just was so scientific but elementary that everybody understood it. Everybody wanted to take notes on it. Everybody was locked in and hanging on to every word that he was saying. And I mean, he was saying some really good stuff, and I thought we used that a lot in the deliberation room in terms of coming to our verdict.
He was he was a pulmonary expert who pinpointed for the world a moment when the light left George Floyd's eyes, and Brandon is saying that that was pivotal to him, and he thought it was pivotal for the rest of the jury. Before the trial was over, Brandon, Dante Wright was shot and killed by an officer just 10 miles away at a traffic stop. You say that you were pulled over dozens of times by police in Minneapolis when you were younger, and that you have a checklist on how to avoid danger in those situations. Does policing need to change?
Policing, I think, absolutely needs to change. For some reason, especially here in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities, whenever you encounter a police officer as a young black man, you're greeted with aggression instead of some form of compassion or anything else. You're greeted with tons of aggression that leads to black men being victimized by the police, being abused, being killed, and it's been an ongoing thing for years and years and years, where it was normalized for a long time. It was normalized for many years, and now that camera phones are a thing, it's being caught on video, and more people are being able to see these things to kind of spark a change.
And I hear a lot of people talking about, well, the stats show this and it shows that, and the incidents, it doesn't happen as much as people say. But listen, Brandon, I have to be honest. If you look at that initial police report from Minneapolis police about what happened to George Floyd, it reads nothing like the actual incident. And how many times across the country does that happen? So those stats, I'm not even sure that they're even true when it comes to how many people are actually killed or shot or harassed by police officers in this country. Brandon, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. You be well.
Yes, thank you so much for having me today, Don.
And you tell your mom and grandmother I said hello, because I know they watch.
They're going to love that.
Thanks a lot.
You know, my royal family, the thing that gets me with the negativity, the continuous negativity, the continuous damage that I feel as I speak is that when they interview our folks, I guess we have to play nicey. And True Royal not going to play nicey on this channel. I'm speaking our pain, I'm speaking our frustration, I'm speaking our rage, I'm speaking whatever I feel at that particular time. I feel emotionally drained. I don't feel victorious. And when I was listening the other day to a press conference about that brother that was slaughtered when they was serving this so-called warrant, you could hear our folks at that particular press conference displaying what they truly feel. That's what I do over here. I display my true nature. And then I'm deemed an angry black woman. I'm deemed hate speech, which is truth speech, and you keep force feeding us damage. Now you heard what Brandon said, that how he felt. Can you imagine actually being there in the courtroom day in and day out and stuff? Yeah, you're going to feel something, and the intensity, I cannot imagine it. As I speak, I have burn in my throat because I'm angry, I'm hurt, feeling some kind of way. And then to give us the illusion that Floyd's case is going to be this, pivotal thing that does police reform. No, they are pissed off. It's us against them. They have long ago had, even when they step in, have had a resentment towards us, and we will see it step up even further, because there are many dynamics that the enemy has to deal with. You got to realize even though it may not seem like it to some people. That's why I say, look at everything with your spiritual eyes. We're watching the enemy go into captivity, and they gonna go in fighting and screaming and kicking and lunging out at the very people that they have feared that will dominate them. That's what this is about. It's a fear. They fear that the black man will dominate you. They fear that the black woman will dominate you. They even fear our royals. Because you got to realize, when you're one-on-one with a chosen one, you really find out their brilliance, their level of. And so they, like I said, the enemy's woman fully understand what type of war she in. So they systematically chisel you down. That's the ultimate goal. You heard what Mr. Mitchell said. The damage, the pain. See, I like these type of moments. I'm an opportunist where I can capture that very thing that we are feeling, because I'm feeling it with you. That's why I pull back and I'm taking in all this stuff too. And then when I took a nice walk the other day, and I was thinking about all this stuff and processing it. You know, I have to process this stuff. Like I had spoke of just recently, and I'm not going to give up her name, but one of our big bloggers out there, she reached out to me and she was like, "This shit is too much." And I said, "I understand, Queen. I understand." Like I said, it's a world behind YouTube, and these content creators put this stuff up. It weighs on you heavily, some more than others. I know my limitations. I know when I have to back off. So we have to support each other behind the scenes. And then we even have subscribers that will support us behind the scenes, and keeping us encouraged to put the information out, and they'll, put their stuff out too. So anyway, I wanted to share this with the royal family to get an insight. Hopefully some other jurors will feel confident enough to come forth. I would like to hear from some of the Caucasian jurors, just to get a feel of what's going on. But still, let's not get overzealous. Nothing is not going to change ever with them. All right? So if they're not going to change ever, this dying system is not going to change whatsoever, because the enemy designed this system to exonerate them. And the enemy designed this system that we are just guilty because we surely exist. So my royal family, render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.